So Trump is absolutely right on the economy. This is coming from left-leaning New York Times columnist Paul Krugman. In a Labor Day op-ed, the liberal economist thinks that out of all the GOP 2016 candidates, Donald Trump is, quote, spot on with his economic policy. However, of course, he doesn't stand with them on some of his other positions, including immigration. So is the left jumping on Donald Trump's bandwagon too? And if so, what exactly does that mean? Joining me now, Herman Cain, former GOP presidential candidate. Herman, thanks a lot for coming in on the show. I've been wanting to get you on for a while now, and it's the perfect topic. I get a little nervous when Paul Krugman starts to cheer on a GOP candidate.
He's not, Charles. He is right that Trump is right on economics, but for the wrong reasons. See, Krugman did what liberals do. They implied something that Trump didn't say. Because, see, what Krugman is trying to say is that Trump wants to raise taxes on everybody. No, he does not. If Krugman had taken the time to read Trump's 2011 book, his tax plan raises taxes on those at the top so they don't have all of those deductions that they can take and pay no taxes, but Trump lowers taxes on everybody else. This was a typical Paul Krugman. He thinks he's done a gotcha on Donald Trump, and he has not, because he didn't understand what Trump's tax plan is because he didn't bother to go read the book.
Although, I mean, we must say that anytime you start talking about hiking taxes, it's something that a progressive is going to break out the pom-poms for anyway, even if it is on these hedge fund guys who, let's face it, no one cares. I mean, I don't care who you are in America. You're trying to make ends meet. You know, these guys who make a gazillion dollars a year, if they got to pay more taxes. But by the same token, ultimately, as that's not necessarily an economic policy. In fact, one of the problems I have with the whole tax scheme is that when I hear progressives talk about it, whether it's President Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, it's a form of punishment. It's a punitive thing, and it really does nothing to make the economy better.
What Krugman is trying to do is to make Trump seem like he's acting like a progressive and a liberal by talking about raising taxes. That's not what he meant. That's not what he said in his book. He catches on to that phrase, raise taxes, when in fact that's not the case. As a matter of fact, taxes for everyone goes down under the Trump plan that I'm familiar with, which is in his 2011 book. And the other reason that Krugman put Trump in the title is because that's the best way to get more people to read your article. Trump, 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 Trump. Okay?
Well,
that's
listen,
what he's doing.
I wouldn't have read it otherwise, so I got to drift on that. Hey, let's talk about these outsiders. Donald Trump, Dr. Carson, Carly Fiorina. I mean, at one point, you were the outsider. You were the leader. You were in charge. You were on top of everything. It feels a little different this time. I mean, you know, you had some extenuating circumstances because at one point it felt like you were certainly on your way. But it even feels different this time with Trump, Carson, even Fiorina. What is it right now that's a little bit different than it was 4 years ago?
More people today than 4 years ago are believing in the outsiders being able to succeed. That's why you have 4 of them surging in the polls. You've got Trump, Carson, Fiorina, and Ted Cruz. I consider him an outsider also. Secondly, when 4 years ago, when I was viciously, falsely attacked, I didn't have the time or the money to fight lawsuits and run a campaign. Well, since you have 4 outsiders, you know Donald Trump has enough money to fight lawsuits if and when they come after him with something vicious and false. I just happen to think that the American people have finally woken up to the fact that maybe we need an outsider. And here's one other aspect. The typical political model says that Democrats are going to vote Democrat, 40% of them are going to vote anyway, 40% of the Republicans are going to vote Republican, and then you've got that 20% in the middle. What these outsiders are doing, they are causing those people who have been tuned out of voting to tuning in. So you have a lot of people that have never voted for before, or you found a lot of people who had given up on changing the system. They see these outsiders as a real opportunity to really stir up and change Washington, D.C. That's what makes it different. People are believers.
You know, and it's interesting, too, because I think of how many times Donald Trump's campaign was written off for an incident or a moment in time. And I wonder if you had the same sort of advice that he had, You know, besides not having the money, just, you know what? These are things that the American people don't care about. In the old school playbook, it was something that would ruin a campaign. Hey, they tell you to fold your tent and go away. That's something
right.
that you were kind of forced to do. But if the same mentality was around back then as now, you probably would have stayed in the campaign.
I probably would have. You're absolutely right. Let me give you the most recent example. One reporter tried to play Stump Trump by asking him the name of some terrorist that I don't even know. Nobody knows. It was the equivalent of when they asked me, well, who's the president of Uzbekistan? I don't know, didn't care, and the American people on Main Street, USA, Charles, don't care about those irrelevant kind of questions. And that's why those kinds of Stump Trump questions have not slowed him down in terms of where he stands in all of the polls. And one other observation that I made today, speaking of things that the political establishment didn't think would happen, remember, they didn't think he was going to last this long, but he did. They didn't think that he would eventually beat Hillary Clinton and all of the other candidates head to head. He has. According to one of the latest surveys from Survey USA, he is beating those. They continue to expect him to fail, but he continues to soar. Carson Fiorina also continue to move up. The American people, I think, are looking past all of the foolishness that normally the media tries to get people to focus on.
None of those games are working this time around. I got to tell you something, though, Herman Cain, you actually blazed the trail because you were up there, you were rocking and rolling, and I got to tell you, the rules, they threw the old school rule book at you, and I think it derailed you, but you left a mark, and we're starting to see that mark right now. Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Charles.